Hello, my name is Amber Henry. This is my daughter Wynn, and we are visiting from Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and I am the author of the book Northern Princess. This is my second book. My first book is called A Ptarmigan and a Birch Tree, which parodies the 12 Days of Christmas, and Northern Princess is about a child who adventures around a lake in my backyard called the Niven Lake Trail. I've been coming to Norfolk County since I was 15 years old. In 2008, I moved to Yellowknife to be with my husband, who is from Yellowknife. And we've been coming back every summer to spend time with my family in Turkey Point. And yeah, I don't know what I was going to say there. but we enjoy our time immensely and look forward to coming back here every summer. Sometimes I wonder if it's from my Irish roots. I mean, every Irish person that I've ever met, I spent 2 years in Ireland, so I'm qualified to say that we love telling stories and we love hearing stories. So sometimes I wonder if that's why I love reading. Writing was a natural progression from that. I grew up reading and writing simultaneously. And it was so natural to me that it wasn't something that I ever considered sharing. It was just something very personal for me. But when I arrived in Yellowknife, my daughter Wynn, she received 4 books one Christmas, all on the same Christmas. When she was 2 years old, she received 4 books that parodied the 12 Days of Christmas with a Canadian theme, and they were all different. While reading all of those books to her over and over, I started wondering what it would sound like to have a Northern story in there, to know what a parody of the 12 Days of Christmas would be for the Northwest Territories. And that's how I wrote and published my first book, A Ptarmigan and a Birch Tree. And I ended up doing that on my own. I self-published. I fell in love with the whole process of doing a book from beginning to end on my own, including the marketing. I've since discovered that I really love marketing. So it's been a fun learning process about discovering who I am, and it's opened doors to my own community, but it's also opened new opportunities for me, like writing more books. I find inspiration in various places. So with my first book, A Ptarmigan and a Birch Tree, that inspiration obviously came from just reading with my daughter. But Northern Princess was inspired in a very different way, where I had read an article about a man who would spend time with his daughter. She really enjoyed having sparkly princess tea parties. And he didn't necessarily want to encourage that, but didn't want to take that away from her either. So what he would do instead was he would dress up right alongside of her, and he would sit down and have that tea party, but then they would talk about leadership. And they would talk about what a princess really does, that it's not just about the costume, but that princesses also make big decisions and they make change in the world. And that article really stuck with me. And it sat around for about 4 years before I finally found a way to tell my version of that story. It started off with a sparkly princess who traveled around Yellowknife, but it ended up reading more like a travel guide. And I wasn't really happy with that. And it didn't sound like me. It didn't sound like my voice. So I did another draft actually at the cottage in Turkey Point. I did my final draft there. And the version of the story that I'm telling now is much closer to my voice and the way I write and the way I see things. And I'd like to think she's a great leader. I think she's a very sweet character, but it's also very important to me. I struggled with the title. The title has always been Northern Princess in my head, but I also know that by using that title, that it challenges other readers to look past the princess and see that this is a story for both boys and girls. And that's something else important for me as well, that people don't dismiss a story about a child who's going on a lakeside adventure as a story only for girls. I think everybody will enjoy reading Northern Princess. I have been making use of a public library. I mean, part of that's because there was no internet when I was growing up, but I have been making use of public libraries for as long as I can remember. I have a library card for every place that I've lived. It's always been a staple in the way I read and the way I research. When it came time for me to start sharing my book and writing, the public library in Yellowknife has been a great venue for me to share my story. But they also, I am now working on a graphic novel, which I've never done before. I read them with her. She likes like the Raina Telgemeier and Shannon Hale and Babysitter Club graphic novels, and we've read a lot of those, but I wanted to expand my library of graphic novel reading. So my public library, I gave them a huge list, and they found the books in their library, they found the books in the Northwest Territories, they found books across Canada, and they bought me books so that I could finish this extensive list. They've provided venues for me, and now here I am in Port Dover with another public library who is offering me a wonderful opportunity to share my story with new readers. And I'm really appreciative of, like, my whole life there's been a library. We have a writers group in Yellowknife. It's called Northwards, and I've been fortunate to call them a part of my community. And I would like to encourage anybody who is looking at writing to find their community, to go there and find various writing groups, because that's also another place where I've got inspiration for writing and feeling energized and refreshed and stronger in my craft. The graphic novel that I'm writing right now is based on a short story that came from a conversation that we had during a workshop, where the person leading the workshop challenged another writer, not me, to write about her pandemic experience. And through that conversation with her, I started wondering about my own pandemic experience, and sort of toyed with a joke that I always tell my mother-in-law, who was born in Yellowknife, born and bred, likes the cold, that one day Yellowknife will be a tropical desert. And sort of played that into the graphic novel. What would happen if winter never came? And because we're so isolated, what would it be to be in Yellowknife if the trucks stopped bringing us food because we don't grow our own? And then that short story is now being adapted into a graphic novel. So I don't know what my point in all of this is, except to say that there is a community out there for you. And if you're a writer or even a reader, finding those people will bring you fresh ideas and inspiration. And I think it's important to share, even if it's not to the whole world, to at least share with your community. So if you'd like to purchase a copy of Ptarmigan and a Birch Tree or Northern Princess, you can find it on Amazon.ca or on my own website, amberhenrywrites.com. I'm also on social media on Instagram and Facebook at Amber Henry Writes.